We will speak a little about the divine daimon of Socrates, the famous Lucifer of the Cathedral of Notre Dame of Paris, the very Nahuatl of the Nahuatl, who on the magical hill of Coatep in Tula came swifter than the wind to the witching invocation of the 60 ancients, enchanting and extraordinary Tula, which in fact is the Scandinavian Thule, described in the golden verses of Seneca. Nahuatl, the living shadow of Quetzalcoatl, Lucifer Prometheus, the bearer of the light, the morning star, the living symbol of our principal stone, the philosopher's stone, in which lies the key to all powers. Lucifer Nahuatl, sometimes taking the form of the he-goat of Mendes, symbol of sexual power. Moses, coming down from Sinai, where he had encountered Jehovah, bears upon his forehead 2 radiant horns in the form of a he-goat, indicating that he had worked with the sexual force. It is written in Hebrew characters that the Ark of the Covenant had upon its 4 corners the horns of a he-goat. Isaiah the prophet writes, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation, in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit." Isaiah 14:12-15. The fathers of the church, Simeon, Pachomius, Eulogius, Anthony, were able to perceive their particular Lucifer, for each person has his own, in the form of a delightful lady, or a terrible masculine figure with shining horns, or as a child dressed in a black tunic. Let us hear the marvelous chant of Ezekiel to the resplendent demon Lucifer Nahuatl. Thou sealest up the sum, full of wisdom, and perfect in beauty. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was thy covering, the sardius, topaz, and the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, and the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and gold. By the multitude of thy merchandise, they have filled the midst of thee with violence, and thou hast sinned. Therefore I will cast thee as profane out of the mountain of God, and I will destroy thee, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Ezekiel 28:12-14. In Mount Alban, this personage truly draws attention. The naked entity, with deformed extremities, feline mouth, and a dynamic attitude that marks the beginnings of that city, can represent nothing other than Nahuatl, Lucifer. At the same time, his association with the tiger, the fire whose flames sometimes replace the genital parts and the downward movement, are sufficient proofs. Laurette Séjourné, The Universe of Quetzalcoatl. Obviously, Nahuatl, Lucifer Prometheus, is the double of Quetzalcoatl within ourselves, here and now, and he can confer upon us wisdom and divine equity. Eritis Sicut Dei, you will be like gods. The philosopher's stone, Lucifer Nahuatl, lies in the very depths of our sexual glands, and it must reconcile the opposites, the eternal enemies, coincidentia oppositorum. You will be like gods. The living philosophical fire of the medieval alchemists remains in a latent state within the depths of our seminal system, waiting mystically for the moment to be awakened. Inri, ignis natura renovatur integra, the fire renews nature eternally. In necis renascor integer, in death I am reborn intact and pure. St. Thomas says, the highest, the most perfect of the angels, the one preferred by God. Dante writes, more noble than any other creature, and the sum of them all. Undoubtedly, Nahuatl Lucifer is not a strange element external to our psyche. On the contrary, he is the shadow of our divine being, residing within the intimate depths of our particular inner universe. It is written in letters of gold in the Book of Life that upon the right paw of the Nahuatl Lucifer shine certain divine golden signs of a terribly sacred nature. Nahuatl Lucifer Prometheus is the psychological trainer in the gymnasium of practical life. It is a vain alarm, the agitation of certain brotherhoods that spread here, there, and everywhere foolish lies against the Gnostic sola chinupes, the Christ agathodaemon, the serpent of Genesis, the shining dragon of wisdom, detested, unpopular Solot Lucifer, repudiated by those ignorant know-it-alls who, rejecting the spirit that gives life, have interpreted the allegory of the war in heaven and Michael's battle with the dragon literally, without comprehending its true meaning. Undoubtedly, our inner profound being must kill or be defeated. In the first case, he becomes the slayer of the dragon because he has triumphed in all the temptations placed before him. Solot Lucifer as tutor, educator, and mentor is certainly unusual, unfamiliar, extraordinary. In Luciferic temptation there exists an inimitable didactic, a prodigious pedagogy, an astonishing attraction, an unmistakable incentive, a hidden instigation with secret divine purposes, seduction and fascination. From all this we may conclude that within our profound intimacies we can and must fight against the dragon and its gloomy hosts, our psychological defects, if we truly wish to transform ourselves into sons of wisdom and immortal gods. In the sacred land of the Vedas, Indra, the shining god of the firmament, kills Vritra or Ahi, the serpent demon, Lucifer Solot. Thus he becomes Vritaham, the destroyer of Vritra, and receives the title Jishnu, the guide of the celestial army. The cross is a very ancient symbol, used in all religions and by all peoples. Whoever imagines it to be the exclusive emblem of a particular religious sect is mistaken. When the Spanish conquerors arrived in the holy land of the Aztecs, they found crosses upon the altars. In the great religious buildings of the Middle Ages, we often see the semicircular or elliptical apse added to the choir. In it, we perceive the form of the hieratic Egyptian sign of the Ansate cross, the Ankh, symbolizing universal life hidden in all things. Moreover, the Hermetic equivalent of the Ankh is the symbol of Venus or Cyprian Lucifer, copper, bronze, or brass. Whiten your brass and burn your books, the best authors of medieval alchemy repeatedly proclaim. Clearly, this expression, wisely translated, means sexual magic, scientific chastity, the radical death of the animal ego. Quetzalcoatl, resurrected after whitening the brass, becomes the morning star. The Apocalypse of St. John says, "And he that overcometh, and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father, and I will give him the morning star. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches." Revelation 2:26-29. Bel and the dragon, Quetzalcoatl and Solot, Apollo and Python, Krishna and Kalia, Osiris and Typhon, Michael and the red dragon, St. George and his dragon, all are the particular divine logoi within each of us, projected into our psyche for our own good. It is not useless to affirm emphatically and with complete lucidity that to kill the Venus, Lucifer, Solot dragon is to become a son of him, that is, to receive the morning star. In ancient times, dragons were always considered symbols of eternity and wisdom. The hierophants of Egypt, Babylon, and India commonly called themselves sons of the dragon and of the serpent, confirming the teachings as universal Gnosticism. Xolotl, the shadow or double of the Mexican Christ Quetzalcoatl, descending from the Empyrean into our own atomic infernos, is something extraordinary, marvelous. The sexual fire, the dog, the erotic instinct, Lucifer Nahuatl, is that extraordinary and marvelous agent capable of transforming us radically. The dog guides the initiate, leading him along the narrow path that conducts from darkness to light, from death to immortality. It is urgent to rescue Xolotl from the dwelling of Pluto, the prodigy of terror, who, with his barking, his 3 enormous heads, and his serpent-covered neck, greatly frightens the disembodied. Xolotl Cerberus Trisipite pulls the leash of his master, guiding him safely along the abrupt and difficult path that leads toward final liberation. Xolotl Lucifer, as the archetype of the penitent, girded with chastity and transformed into an anchorite, brings light into the darkness and illuminates the entire Christic esotericism. Xolotl Lucifer, possessing the remnants that must one day resurrect, teaches the need to die in order to truly be. It is urgent to search, to reflect, to meditate. Undoubtedly, the death of the myself, the ego, is an indispensable requirement for esoteric resurrection, a work that must be accomplished here and now through sexual alchemy. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, "Death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory?" 1 Corinthians 15:53-55. The exciting and seductive didactic of Xolotl Lucifer, when intelligently used, makes magical resurrection possible. Temptation is fire. Triumph over temptation is light. It is urgent, unpostponable, to eliminate the undesirable elements we carry within. I want to emphasize the symbols of the tiger and the dog. Undoubtedly, Xolotl Lucifer, taken from the solar hieroglyphic and rooted in our seminal system, assumes the marvelous role of Cerberus, the dog, as mentioned by Dante in the Divine Comedy. The tiger is different, as known by the Tiger Lords, those jaguars of the Gnostic movement who, like authentic felines of revolutionary psychology, fight against themselves, against their own psychological defects. Without a doubt, the dog and the tiger are esoterically united in the same work. The humanization of the tiger in Aztec art is something that astonishes the mystic. In no way would it be possible to uproot our psychic aggregates, those intimate defects that together constitute the I, without the help of that divine particle, the inner monad, represented by the axe, the sign of the ray, clearly symbolized in the tiger man. It is written with complete clarity in the Book of Life. He who wishes to ascend must first descend. Every exaltation is preceded by a humiliation. Since ancient times, the descent into the ninth sphere has been the ultimate test of the Hierophant's integrity. Jesus, Buddha, Hermes, and Quetzalcoatl all had to face that terrible trial. Mars descends there to retemper his sword and win the heart of Venus. It is there that Hercules cleans the stables of Augeas, and Perseus cuts off the head of Medusa. Quetzalcoatl and his double, in the depths of the earth, in Dante's Inferno, in the dread dwelling of Pluto, must die radically if they wish to resurrect from among the dead. In the middle of that domain stands a huge elm, stretching out its ancient branches. Upon them live the vain dreams of suffering humanity, clinging to the leaves like insects. There wander the centaurs, Briareus, the giant of 100 arms, the Hydra of Lerna, whose many heads Hercules severed, the Chimera, monster with a goat's body, the Gorgons, the Harpies, and the shadow of the three-bodied one. Inferential peace, Samael Aun Weor.